So again, thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm really proud to be here with you guys. I know this is a very difficult situation. We are behind you, we're thinking with you, and I hope that my input can help also here to be better in this situation. So as Dimitri mentioned, I'm quite long in this business, tech business, and I'm working with many startup teams right now. I've done before many years in working with Japan and Sony, and then US with Dolby and Real. And I always worked with multicultural high trust teams in my life. And I think I want to hand over some information and experience here. My last job was running Dolby International before I founded my own company, Silicon Castles, which we are based in, actually in this castle behind me, in Austria, in Salzburg, a beautiful city, small but known for many international companies, like Red Bull is headquartered here, or the Porsche holding is here, Shidata and many other technology players are here. So it's a little Silicon Valley, but I call it Silicon Castle. So what we are doing here, we're trying to find very unique technology companies and building them up. And what we also do is that we basically try to make entrepreneurs better. And we founded a Startup Executive Academy together with Baba Shi from Stanford University. So very, very, very close to Silicon Valley also because of my work there. I spent 2 months of my every year in San Francisco and in the Bay Area. So I have close relationships there. And what we're doing right now, actually, we have an online version now because of the Corona situation, where we train people on go-to-market. This is really about go-to-market. So just that you know what we are doing. So we're having our own investment portfolio. We're building up, we call them European Diamonds, deep tech companies. So very interesting for you guys also in Belarus. I know you're very technically on a high level. So if you're interested, contact me to talk about your ideas. But what I really want to talk now is really to go into some fundamentals that are so important for this phase now. And I think the self-confidence and trust are key elements of overcoming that situation. So the basis of success in life is self-confidence. Okay, so Lao Tse, 600 years before Christ, said, if you believe in yourself, you don't need to convince others. If you accept yourself, you will also be accepted by others. I think this is a very strong statement, and it's true for life and for business. So how can you build confidence? Because confidence is an interesting thing. It's a feeling of trust in your own abilities and qualities and capabilities. I think that is really important. And you know how this runs in life. If you are confident, people see that. So I think the first step is accept yourself. Nobody is perfect. Look at your strengths and work on them. And recognize also and praise yourself for your efforts and progress. I think this is really important. Sometimes as a founder, as an entrepreneur, you forget about because you're caring about other people, but really recognize yourself. Say, hey, I've done this well, and you can talk to your founder, colleagues, etc. But also on the other side, be realistic what you want to achieve. I always see that self-confidence sometimes can turn over to unrealistic views of your life, and then there is this difference between your self-awareness and other people. So be realistic and don't put super stretch goals there. It's not working in the end. So only few Jesuses can make it. Learn from your successes, and I think very important is that you have family, partners, and friends and team members that you involve in your self-confidence. Because in the end, you need to retain the self-confidence. How do you do that? So I think very important is review the success cases of the past. Think back what you have made successfully. Also try to learn from the negative life experiences or business experience. It's okay, but don't let you dictate from these things. Sometimes you need to have a shield and say, okay, fine, this is over now. Let's go to the next phase. Yeah. And slow down. Also one advice, slow down when you have intensive emotions, when you feel, oh, I want to kill this guy now, or this person, or this is idiotic. Try to slow down it doesn't help you. You're wasting your energy. You're getting nervous. You're losing, you're losing your logic. So then try to think logically and also ask other for balanced views. It's good with a partner, business partner, private life, etc. And also always try to see how your environment reflects on your behavior. So, and then in my point of view, what is very useful, what we're also teaching in our academy is use meditation or yoga, whatever you want to use, to try to calm down and try to balance your work life. I think this is really, really important, that you can calm down and balance and think about the major important things. So what does it mean for business success? I think self-confidence is a leadership principle, because you have to manage this roller coaster. I mean, that's what is in the tech scene, in the startup scene. It's up and down. You're successful, you go down. You're successful, you go down. And you always need to believe in your product, and you do, and your strategy to convince other people. Strategy is really, really important, that you understand what you want to achieve. And it's very clear, you can only convince your team if you're self-confident, if they believe you. Yeah. And I think the very important thing is that if you are self-confident, if you have a self-confident team, empower the team, then you're successful. And one of those elements, that's why self-confidence and trust are two separate things, but they're interlinked very much. Don't forget to build this trust. And the trust, I'll jump over now to the most important couple of interesting talks of people about trust. So James Watson, he was the big CEO of IBM in the early days of IBM, yeah, when IBM was the first tech company globally in the 30s, 20s and 30s and 40s. So he said the toughest thing about power of trust, it's very difficult to build and super easy to destroy. And you see that many times with customers, with companies, when they really fuck up things and then suddenly they were so great and they drop down and have a real big problem. And trust is also, interestingly, the highest form of human motivation, because it brings out the best people. That's also a very good Stephen Conway statement. So what is trust? Again, like self-confidence, trust is a feeling, but it has a couple of elements. It has the security. When can I rely on a person in my team, or when can I rely on me? There's a safety net. When can I take a well-considered risk? It's clarity in trust. What do I communicate with somebody? And it's satisfaction. Then when something happens and everything is good and you work together with the team. So it's a very interesting combination of security thinking, safety net thinking, clarity and satisfaction. So it's a reciprocal process. Trust is not one-sided. You need to give and you get back. This is also a big issue. I mean, I don't want to go down on politics now, but there is no trust in your country with the leadership there. Various reasons, because this is not working together. So trust, it should be really an integral part of the entire organization. By the way, trust is also in many other countries not existing. So, but it's always a problem when things do not match up. So please try to make it as a leadership principle and for your entire organization. Because in startups, I mean, you have so many relationships. You have a co-founder, you have a team member, you have consultants, you have R&D guys, you have contractors, you have public funding institutions, you have customers, of course, most important partners, you have a board, you have shareholders, and they all want to trust you, because it's needed that they trust you that you can be successful. So therefore, it's always a give and take, and never forget that trust is the basis for success. And also for, let's say, employees, there are a lot of studies, but if they trust in your company, then there are fewer sick, less burnout, less stress, they're more satisfied, 50% higher productivity, 76% more engagement, 106% more energy at work. Look at your people, how they feel. And this is Harvard Business Review tag Paul Sack in a couple of years ago. And it's really true. Trust makes people happier and healthier. So also it is the other way around. Yeah? So increased employee control, increased control, it's not good if all these things happen, because it is a negative spin. It leads to lower performance, etc. So it's very clear, this feeling of trust, you're self-confident and then you feel trusted and you give the trust, people are very much behind you and you have a better performance. So let me come to the end with I call it the trust tower, which we are trying to teach and also live within the company. So there's a basis of the security. As I mentioned, the security is, can I rely on somebody in my group, in my family, I mean, everywhere. Then you have this safety net. So can I take this considered risk? Can I do this together? Okay. And then there's this reliability. Can I rely on you? This is the base level of trust. What comes next, in my point of view, is this clarity of communication, this clarity of openness, and this proactive communication. So the one is the base layer. This is like the communication layer that people so much, many times forget, this clarity. Be clear what you want from the team. Don't be fuzzy. Be open. Keep the open door policy. Even now in COVID times, they can call you and be around for your people, that they can speak up. Because the next level is then have these clear roles and responsibilities. So this is kind of an extension of clarity in communication to a clear roles and responsibilities. This leading by principle. So you need to guide the people. They need to look up to you as a leader. And on the other side, give them a purpose. So in a company, there is a clear purpose what you want to achieve. This makes everything sound good. It's in life, but it's in business as well as business. This is very, very important for you. And then basically out of this security, clarity, R&R, you have a happy team. On the other side, you have satisfied partners and you have supportive shareholders, because that's what you need in a company. And you have the satisfied customers for sure. And hopefully you have the business success. And in parallel, of course, you need to run facts and figures. You need to produce facts and figures, because that's management is working with people to achieve results. And on the other side, you have these emotions and feelings. So the other side of the medal, where it's fluffy, you cannot grab it, but the self-confidence and the trust, if you be more focusing on that, you will be more successful, guys. I'm very convinced that this is the truth. This is my basically my now 14 minutes or whatever it is now, Dimitri. I hope I was fast enough. I want to thank you for listening to me, and of course, please. Final statement is to build and retain. Trustworthy before you start the business. Keep the promise. Be willing to make commitments. Make clear statements. Formalize your commitment in writing to employees and to the universe you need. Allow and encourage open communication. Create and follow a higher purpose. And lead by principle, not only once. I think that's important. Really train it. Make it a process in your company. This is always fluid. You need to work on it. It's never satisfying. You always have to keep going, because we're human beings and people make mistakes, and that's good because we are not robots, and that's why we are much more creative. And so with that, I would like to thank you for your attention, and yeah, I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas. Great speech, very inspiring for me personally, and I think for the rest of us as well. You were not only on time, you were also a little bit shorter, which is great for catching up to the program. Thank you for that. But I think what you said actually touched a few things in me as well. I really believe in what you have just spoken about. And I feel that a lot of the time founders focus too much on the practicalities of running the business and not realizing that any business is really a relationships game.
Yes.
Right. And you're not really, if you can't manage people and you can't manage relationships, there's no way you're going to be able to manage finances because they are run by people.
Right.
So one question I kind of have for you is, you already responded to it partially in the last slide of how to build this feeling of trust. But what recommendation would you give to founders in Belarus right now, or actually in the world, where trust in general in society is so low, right? And there's so much ambiguity and so much chaos and so many different opinions from the US to Belarus to any country in the world right now, where things are just so unclear. What's the future? What's the present? What's the past? How can you build trust for your team and security in that environment?
I think what is working in everywhere around the world, that you have a small group around you that you really trust and that you trust each other. So you have your elite troop, basically. You have your people around you that you really trust. And then send out these people to the wider organization, that they again build their groups of trust. I think it's a kind of a snowball system. If you have the first circle system, the first circle working, then if everybody of the circle builds another circle under his leadership or her leadership, you can make it like a pyramid system. I think that's what makes sense. So let's say in a leadership team, you have all the functions, and then the finance guy also builds his own circle and his trust circle in his organization. I think it's probably unrealistic to say that everybody in a company always trusts 100%. No, this is not possible. But as long as you build a backbone of trust within your own team around you as a leader, and then they build teams around them, I think then you can move an organization. And by the way, it's also very important, this trust work with customers. So what I just give you one data. So in the first half year after COVID, a lot of startups went bankrupt or went down. Silicon Valley, probably 25% of the startups just crashed. Yeah. And also in Western Europe, a lot of startups, they got some maybe some business money, but in the end, they will not be successful. So what really works in my point of view is that you have a very strong relationship to the customer, the customer intimacy. So you need a good sales force, or you as a CEO keep very close relationships with your customer. This helps you a lot. This was one factor where people actually were successful as startups. The second one is with the shareholders. If you have a good board, try to be active with the board, because the board will then go out and get money in, maybe in an internal round or an external round. I think this was another argument for successful startups, that have a very good structure in the shareholders or in the board, and loyalty and trust to the founders. So the sales side, so this is basically the revenue side, and then the financing side with the shareholders, all based on trust. Or if you had a good relationship with the people you could talk to, you were able to overcome the situation. Those two things I would say are very, very important right now.
Thank you, Andreas. If anybody else has questions, we still have a few minutes, so just drop it into the Q&A, and I'll pass it on to Andreas and we can discuss it as well. One question that did come up is also, the question of self-confidence, right? It's a thing that is very much an internal feeling, right? Yes. That you must represent, and you can't really fake it. So, how do you work on your self-confidence? Because it's not that easy, because, if you're lying about it and you're projecting something wrong, people can feel it. Right. So what would be the things you'd recommend to do for people to learn more about it?
So stand up in the morning, look into the mirror and say, what do you want to do today to improve the situation? That's it. Formulate your thought in the morning, under the shower, in front of the mirror, concentrate. And maybe if you do one thing successfully today, you have made it. Don't do too much. I think the focus on fewer things is better. Do less but better, and focus on things, and also sometimes a lot of people talk to you and have all these arguments. Sometimes it's better to just clean out all this noise. That's why yoga is maybe, or meditation is good, because you can concentrate on the really important things, and just do the important things, and clean out all the noise, and don't look at all the emails that you get in from people that you don't need to. So I mean, everybody gets too many emails anyway, and you need to identify those that are really relevant for you, focus on that, and stay on track with your strategy. It's like startup business is like sailing a ship. Okay, you're on course. As long as you have no evidence that the course is wrong, stay on the course. Even if the wind blows harder, then you have to change the sail. But go and straight on it. And one day it will be sunny, then next day it will be raining. But stay on course, and don't listen to too many people. At very beginning, believe in your product, believe in your strategy, and just do it.
Excellent. I love that.
It's fine. You can make mistakes. It's fine, but don't make the mistake. Fail fast, and change it, and keep going.
I love that. One of my favorite quotes is by Seneca, when he says that, if you don't know to which port you're sailing to, no wind will be favorable.
Correct.
So setting that sail and going in, and also like what you said, and I think one recommendation is that I read this book about short changes called Atomic Habits. About like changing things in small steps, but it has a big effect. Yes. We have about 1 minute left, and there was one question, if you can very quickly reply to it, by Vitaly. He said that, is there an algorithm or list of steps to restore trust in case of a mistake that has been made?
Yes, be open and confess, and say, this was a mistake, this was wrong. It is actually a very great step also for a leader to confess and say, I was wrong. I did a mistake. This is totally fine. I mean, don't do it every day, because then they lose trust in you, but you can do it once a month. They go, okay, this was wrong. This was a miscalculation. I had not enough information available. And then you can restore trust with the team. Yes, you can do that, but openly communicating and be very clear about the future. Immediately say, and this is what we're going to do. We're changing now the course by 5 grades east, but we keep going there.
Excellent. Andreas, thank you so very much for joining us. You put your email to all panelists. If anybody has more questions, you can reach out there. Thank you so much. And now we're going to move on.
Russia, we are behind you guys.